Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast.
Uh,
Today, we're taking you on a wild ride
Go.
back to 2016
Okay.
in the UK.
All right.
That's a political scandal,
Uh-huh.
a media frenzy,
Okay.
and a whole lot of questions about packed trains.
Sounds juicy.
Buckle up because we're diving deep into Traingate.
Traingate. It really captures that whirlwind of political maneuvering and public perception. To understand it fully, you really need to remember the context. Back then, British railways were a hot-button issue.
Yeah.
They'd been privatized in the 1990s.
Right.
And let's just say it wasn't exactly smooth sailing.
Overcrowding was a major headache for commuters.
Yeah.
And fares were steadily climbing.
Ugh, it's the perfect storm for discontent.
Yeah.
And this is where Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Party, enters the scene.
Corbyn had long been a champion for renationalizing the railways.
Yes,
A stance that resonated with a lot of voters who were fed up with the privatized system.
for sure. And this brings us to August 2016. Corbyn was in the middle of a heated leadership challenge from Owen Smith.
Like an internal election.
Yes, another Labour MP. Think of it like an internal election within the party.
Okay, so we've got a divided political landscape
Yes.
and frustrated commuters packed onto trains like sardines. What could possibly make this situation more dramatic?
Well, imagine you're Jeremy Corbyn trying to connect with everyday voters
Yeah.
and drum up support for your campaign. You decide to take a train from London to Newcastle for a campaign event. Seems simple enough, right?
But this is where things take a sharp turn into scandal territory.
Oh.
Corbyn's team films him sitting on the floor of the train claiming it's ram-packed
Wow.
and using the moment to call for renationalization.
I see.
The video quickly goes viral, playing right into the public's existing frustrations with overcrowded trains. It was a PR coup for Corbyn, portraying him as a man of the people standing up for the common commuter.
It's a good look.
But hold on, the plot thickens. A week later, Virgin Trains East Coast, the company operating the train, decides to fight back. They release CCTV footage that appears to show Corbyn walking past empty, unreserved seats before being filmed sitting on the floor.
Oh, my.
Talk about a bombshell.
Yeah.
The media had a field day. Was Corbyn being deliberately misleading? Had he staged the whole thing for political points? This is where the term Traingate was born.
Sketchy.
And it became a full-blown media frenzy.
I bet.
And the accusations started flying. Corbyn's opponents, including Owen Smith, seized the opportunity to paint him as dishonest and untrustworthy. Suddenly, this seemingly simple train journey became a battleground for public opinion and political maneuvering.
It's fascinating how this incident tapped into deeper societal tensions.
Yeah.
On one hand, you had the anger and frustration with privatized railways, symbolized by Corbyn's video.
All right.
On the other, you had questions about truth and authenticity in politics, amplified by Virgin's counter-narrative.
It's like the whole incident became a Rorschach test for people's existing political views. Were you Team Corbyn, believing he was genuinely trying to highlight an important issue?
Yeah.
Or were you Team Virgin, seeing him as a politician willing to manipulate a situation for his own gain?
It makes you think. And it's important to remember, this was all happening against the backdrop of the Brexit referendum,
Oh, right.
which had deeply divided the country. So Traingate added fuel to an already fiery political climate.
And before we get deeper into the fallout from Traingate, if you're enjoying this journey through a truly fascinating piece of political history,
Yes.
hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any other captivating stories from Tell Me More. Now let's get back on track. Corbyn didn't just stay silent in the face of these accusations. He responded, claiming that he couldn't find seats together for him and his wife,
Oh, okay.
and that some seats might have been reserved by luggage or children, which wasn't visible in the CCTV footage.
I see. So now we have two competing narratives, each side claiming to have the truth. And this is where the media plays a crucial role. Newspapers, TV channels, and of course the burgeoning world of social media all jumped on the Traingate bandwagon.
It was a perfect storm of traditional and new media all vying for attention and shaping the narrative in their own way.
Exactly. You had outlets like The Guardian, which initially ran with Corbyn's video,
Uh-huh.
later acknowledging that they could have been clearer about the source of the footage and the fact that Corbyn did eventually find a seat.
And then you have social media where the whole thing exploded with memes, hashtags, and endless debates about who was right and who was wrong. It was a perfect example of how social media can amplify and accelerate the spread of information for better or worse.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
A seemingly mundane train journey transformed into a national conversation about political ethics, the role of the media, and the very nature of truth in the digital age. But before we get into the long-term impact of Traingate, Let's dig a bit deeper into the reactions from different players in the saga.
Yes, because it wasn't just Corbyn and Virgin Trains going head-to-head. The reactions from within Corbyn's own party were quite telling, weren't they?
Absolutely. John McDonnell, Corbyn's shadow chancellor at the time,
Hmm.
think of him as the Labour Party's finance minister in waiting,
Okay.
didn't hold back.
Oh.
He was furious with Virgin Trains, especially Richard Branson, the company's high-profile owner.
Right. McDonnell went so far as to call for Branson to be stripped of his knighthood for his perceived role in attacking Corbyn. Can you imagine the shockwaves that sent through the political establishment?
It was a bold move, and it highlighted the intense loyalty within Corbyn's camp. But it also demonstrates how Traingate became a proxy battle in a larger ideological war.
So it wasn't just about whether Corbyn sat on the floor or not. It became a symbol of the deeper divisions in British society, with Corbyn representing the left-wing challenge to the establishment and Branson representing the world of big business and private enterprise.
And this is where Traingate gets really interesting. It wasn't just a political scandal, it was a cultural phenomenon that exposed the fault lines in British society.
It's amazing how something as seemingly simple as a train journey can become such a lightning rod for bigger issues.
It really is, and I think that's why Traingate continues to fascinate people.
Yeah,
It's a story that goes beyond the headlines and reveals a lot about the complex interplay of politics, media, and public perception in the digital age.
absolutely. But before we delve further into the long-term implications of Traingate, let's take a quick look at how the public actually perceived this whole incident.
Okay.
Because ultimately, it's public opinion that shapes the political landscape.
For sure.
Exactly. So how did the public react to this whole Traingate saga? Were they swayed by Corbyn's explanation, or did Virgin's CCTV footage damage his credibility? Stay tuned, because we'll be uncovering those answers right after a quick message from our sponsors. We'll be right back with more on Traingate. Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. We left off wondering how the public reacted to Traingate. Was Corbyn seen as a champion of the common man or a scheming politician?
Well, it's never that black and white, is it? YouGov actually conducted polls after the incident.
Oh, wow.
And the results were pretty interesting. While some were more inclined to believe Virgin Trains, the company's overall brand perception took a bit of a hit.
So even though Virgin Trains might have scored points for exposing the discrepancy in Corbyn's account, it didn't exactly win them a popularity contest.
Exactly. Perhaps it was their approach.
Yeah.
Releasing the CCTV footage publicly could be seen as a power play, even if they felt justified.
And then there's Richard Branson, the owner of Virgin Trains, injecting himself into the narrative on social media. Remember John McDonnell calling for Branson to be stripped of his knighthood? Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
It definitely amplified the controversy. It's almost as if Traingate turned into a symbolic clash between Corbyn representing a challenge to the establishment and Branson, the billionaire businessman embodying corporate power.
It's like a modern-day David and Goliath story playing out in the court of public opinion.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just about who was telling the truth on that train.
Right.
It became a battleground for bigger ideas. Corbyn used the incident to push for renationalization while Branson was defending private enterprise.
So Traingate became this focal point for deeper societal debates about the role of government corporate responsibility and the power of media narratives.
Precisely. And it also had a significant impact on the Labour leadership election. Did it ultimately hurt Corbyn's chances of winning? It's hard to say for sure.
Right, because on the one hand, the incident did raise questions about his credibility.
Yeah.
But on the other, it rallied his core supporters who felt he was unfairly targeted.
Politics is rarely straightforward. There were so many factors at play in that election.
Yeah.
But Traingate certainly added another layer of intrigue to an already heated race.
Now, here's something I found particularly fascinating about the whole affair.
Okay.
Amidst all the drama and accusations, Richard Branson did something quite unexpected. He offered discounted travel deals to Labour Party members attending their annual conference.
Oh, yes, that's right. Talk about a curveball. Was it a genuine olive branch or a clever PR move to soften Virgin Trains' image?
It's hard to know for sure, but it adds a layer of irony to the whole situation.
It does. It's a reminder that even in the most heated political battles, there's often a touch of the absurd.
It also brings us to a crucial question. What can we learn from Traingate? What insights can we glean from this seemingly simple event that snowballed into a national controversy?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? First and foremost, Traingate demonstrates how quickly a seemingly minor event can spiral in the age of social media. What begins as a routine train journey can quickly become a national news story, a political battleground, and a source of endless debate online.
It's also a powerful reminder that we all view events through our own lenses, shaped by our existing beliefs and biases.
Uh-huh.
What one person sees as a clear case of dishonesty, another might interpret as a genuine misunderstanding or even a victim of circumstance.
Absolutely. And this is why critical thinking is so crucial.
Yeah.
We need to question our assumptions, consider alternative perspectives, and be wary of simplistic narratives.
Traingate also highlights the power of storytelling,
Right.
both in traditional media and on social media. The way a story is framed, the details emphasized, and the context in which it's presented can dramatically influence how it's perceived and understood.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to political scandals. It applies to every story we encounter. We need to ask ourselves, who is telling the story? What are their motivations? And what alternative perspectives might exist?
Traingate reminds us that even amidst political division and media frenzy, there's still room for nuanced complexity and even a touch of humor.
Well said. It's a story that defies easy categorization and continues to generate debate and reflection even years later.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Traingate, what's the final verdict? Was it a political stunt gone wrong, a media frenzy that spiraled out of control, or something else entirely?
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's open to interpretation. Did Corbyn genuinely struggle to find seats, or did he embellish the situation to make a political point? We may never know for sure. What's fascinating here is how Traingate became a mirror reflecting the existing political landscape.
It's like everyone saw what they wanted to see in this whole Traingate incident, confirming their existing beliefs about Corbyn, the media, and the state of British politics in general.
Precisely. It was a classic Rorschach test for political leanings. If you were already on Team Corbyn, you likely dismissed it as a minor misstep blown out of proportion, or even saw him as a victim of a media smear campaign. But if you were skeptical of Corbyn Traingate, simply reinforced your doubts about his trustworthiness.
And we can't forget that this all unfolded against a backdrop of simmering public frustration with privatized railways.
Absolutely. Overcrowded trains, rising fares, a sense that profits were being prioritized over passenger experience. These were all real concerns for people. Traingate provided a focal point for those frustrations, even if the details of the incident itself remained hazy.
So it becomes more than just a he said, she said story about one train ride. It taps into a bigger conversation about public services, corporate accountability, and the power dynamics between those in charge and the everyday people affected by their decisions.
Right, and this is what makes Traingate so enduringly relevant. It forces us to grapple with the complexities of truth perception and the ways in which our own biases shape how we interpret events.
It's a reminder that we could always be critical consumers of information, especially in today's world of rapid-fire news cycles and social media echo chambers. We need to look beyond the headlines, consider multiple viewpoints, and be willing to challenge our own assumptions.
Absolutely, and perhaps that's the most valuable lesson we can take away from Traingate. It's not about finding a definitive answer to the question of what really happened on that train. It's about recognizing that truth is often multifaceted and understanding how our own perspectives shape the way we see the world.
Well said. Traingate is a story that keeps on giving sparking debate and prompting reflection even years later.
And it leaves us with a final thought-provoking question to ponder. In an era defined by information overload and political polarization, how do we navigate the complexities of truth and perception? How do we engage in meaningful dialogue when our starting points are so different?
That's a challenge for all of us to consider as we move forward in this ever-evolving digital landscape. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Traingate. We hope you've enjoyed this journey through a story that's as much about perception as it is about reality.
Indeed. It's been a fascinating exploration of a moment in time that continues to resonate.
And if you're hungry for more thought-provoking stories and deep dives into history's most captivating events, be sure to subscribe to Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast. We've got a whole archive of episodes waiting to be discovered, and we release new ones every week.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep telling me more.